guys. So as Andrew said, I'm Georgina Clarke and I work at the BME and the Wellness Centre doing conflict resolution and as well as mindfulness. And so we thought we'd come together today to bring this session. And I think obviously it's very timely that we're doing this in this time, but this is something that actually has been a need for a long time. And it's something that I incorporate with my clients from the point of view of what we call cycle of conflict, triggers, understanding the past in order to move forward. So I really do hope that it will be a little bit interactive. So I'm going to be talking with you. I hope I'm not going to be talking at you. Forgive me if I sound like I am at any given moment. But I really just want to sort of give you an introduction really to what mindfulness is, how that can apply to your lives, and how that can affect other things in your life as you continue. Okay, does that make sense so far? Yeah, feel free to nod.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
All right, so I'm going to now attempt to share my screen so that we can go through some of these slides. Let's have a look. There we go.
Videos.
Okay. So, can everybody see that at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. So, as I said, this is an introduction to mindfulness, and
Amanda,
I'm Georgina Clarke.
Are you logging on?
Okay, that's Andrew, I think. So, the heading here is Resolve the Past to have peace in your present. And what I would like, ideally, by the end of this session, is for you to feel able to answer the following questions. So what is mindfulness? How can mindfulness help you to be able to assess yourself and ask, am I self-aware? And, which is a really big one, do I live in a cycle of conflict? So, and then at the end, we'll do we call some mindfulness techniques. I thought actually, considering the time of evening that we're all gathered here, it might be nice to have this and then just sort of go through some things at the end so that when we leave, whether it's going to bed or whatever your evening looks like, there's a sense of just sort of calm and peace and channeling that energy if there's anything that's going on in your mind that may need sort of grounding, okay? So, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is focusing one's attention on one's thoughts in the present moment. So in its simplest form, mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way. So focusing one's attention on one's thoughts in the present moment, being aware or mindful. And it's a technique or an approach in which one can focus their full attention, but making sure they're in the present. So experiencing thoughts, feelings, and sensations, but not judging them. Now, I thought I'll throw in this little icon here. What does that even mean? So, an example can be, when we are having thoughts, we can allow ourselves to let those thoughts create judgments in us, judgments towards others, feelings of guilt and insecurity, and that can go round and round in our mind and create situations of frustration and anger. So an example would be, yesterday on the TV, there was a show, I think it was about things that make people angry, basically. And in one of these scenes, a bus driver, I think, had asked somebody to show his pass as he was about to get off the bus. And for whatever reason, that caused an instant rage in this person. It caused him to feel anger, frustration, and the way he then responded was very much in keeping with that. And one would hazard a guess that in that moment of the bus driver asking him for his pass, he has now internalized that to, how is this person seeing me? What judgments has he made of me? And that's created a feeling of anger and frustration that comes from somewhere. And if we were to dig deep into that, that would probably we'll be able to investigate that there's a driver or drivers that's establishing that feeling of whether it be insecurity or what have you in that person. So Judging your thoughts can range from being frustrated, as I said, at a situation that plays around in your mind, over again, becoming angry due to the lack of response, and the feeling that you can accomplish things in life because a particular experience didn't quite go the way it worked out. So, for example, if any of you have ever experienced a situation where maybe you didn't get the job or you failed an exam, the knock-on effect that that one thing has now created within you, okay? So I'm just going to move this out of the way so that I can read the screen better. Oh, have I jumped too far the other way? There we go. Let me just move this along. That's it. So mindful, it's taking that time. It's a method of accomplishing a desired aim. So for example, if you're feeling, if you need to de-stress, if you need to reduce anxiety, it's about implementing strategies to manage conflict and focus the mind in the moment. A mindful breakdown of mindfulness. The words that would normally be used in this for this would be direction, so an intentional positioning towards something. My favorites here are watchful. One could even say observant. I'd probably go as far as say vigilant, discerning of one's thoughts and the management of thought. So when you put all of that together, what we find is an intentional observation and management of one's mind, focusing on our thoughts. And we're going to come back to that as it says. So mindfulness is not a practice that works all by itself, however, works well practiced by oneself. And what that in essence means is that mindfulness is a great tool alongside other things. However, the art and the technique of mindfulness is also something that you need to do by yourself. It's something that you need to have as a oneness with yourself, a time for yourself. So how can mindfulness help me? Not only is it a great practice for the mind, but mindfulness has proven beneficial to assist with emotional and physical issues. So it helps to manage emotional triggers. I kind of started talking about this earlier. So there's things that cause you to feel a certain way. Why does that make you feel a certain way, and how can then you manage that? Anxiety and panic attacks, again, centering your mind so that when you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, you can find that just that moment of calm where you can just bring yourself back to the center and just focus on the thoughts, but again, without the judgment, without the guilt. It also helps with depression, stress-related disorders such as nervous stomach, constipation, eating issues, chronic pain, headaches, back pain, concentration, and focus. Just to name a few. There's a few other things also, but that's kind of a list of some of the typical things that we may experience on a day-to-day basis. Okay. So, as I said already, mindfulness is a training practice that can be effective alongside other alternative therapies and treatments for a holistic framework of mind and body well-being, such as relaxation, yoga, and Pilates. So one of the things that I used to specialize mindfulness in conjunction with would be massage and aromatherapy and all the kind of complementary therapies such as reflexology and basically touch therapy. And then over the course of time, I've incorporated Pilates to help bring together that, again, that center of peace, that center of focusing and controlling your mind and using your body to understand the way we think, the way we use it, and helping to ground us. Widely encouraged in conjunction with mindfulness is great with talking therapies such as CBT, psychotherapy, counseling, and if there's other issues going on, maybe personality disorder, maybe attachment disorders, anything like that, chronic depression, it's really useful to use the mindfulness technique and tool alongside medical support and interventions. Again, I think I highlighted this earlier, mindfulness is not a quick fix. It's a technique, and it's a technique that needs time to develop. So it's not something that you do in one sitting, and then if it's not working out the way you think it ought to, then that now becomes a source of guilt, frustration, and again, a form of using that as judgment against yourself. Perceived and received. So before you can do a thing, it's a wonderful quote that I found here. Before you can do a thing, you have to think it. Your thoughts lead to attitudes, attitudes lead to actions, actions lead to those achievements. It all begins with the thought life. Your achievements will be the sum total of your thoughts and therefore your actions. And I love this quote because I think in essence, it really does sum up how our thinking can affect the things that then goes on to happen within our lives. So the life cycle. So whether it be us not necessarily achieving the things that we want to achieve, a breakdown maybe in relationships, a breakdown in our own personal achievements, whether it be things to do with our children, it all has a knock-on effect the way that we see ourselves and then take those eyes and then see the rest of the world. As it says here, this then becomes our perception and therefore how we reason and process information. And in a time where we're in information just overload, all of this stuff is coming into our psyche, all of this stuff is just floating around us, and it's giving us sometimes the impression that there's things that we should be doing that we're not doing, things that we should have that we don't have, and all of this can create a feeling of being left out, not achieving, and all of that can be internalized in a very negative way. Mindfulness is great to reverse that or assist with reversing that. So as it says here, this has become the gamut to which we receive others into our life. Self-aware. Being self-aware through our learned reasoning or what is termed as familiar behavior, we may judge people through a lack of self-awareness, and that's the prison that we choose to do everything in our life, as I was saying just a moment ago. So the practice of mindfulness is to allow yourself to be aware of those thoughts, that the past may create experiences that then trap us into labels, that then trap us into a mindset of thinking of ourselves, and as I was saying, and then we turn that around, and that then affects the way that we see others. This can then cause us to react to others through a negative prism, one of automatic behavior or anger, fear, as I was saying about the example of the bus driver, that can then be directed at others based on our past. And we see this a lot, unfortunately, with people who may have been in domestic abuse relationships or may have had abuse of some sort, or been raised in an environment that wasn't very positive. And so we then adopt labels over ourselves, and then we then speak those labels continuously over ourselves, and then we begin to believe those. And as the quote said in the previous slide, we then adopt those things, and it becomes our attitude, which then becomes our behavior, which then becomes our achievements. The process of continuously thinking about the same thoughts, which tend to be sad or dark, is called rumination. A habit of rumination can be dangerous to our mental health and well-being, as it can give rise to low mood and prolong or intensify depression, as well as impair our ability to think and process our emotions. This then can lead to what we call, as I mentioned again earlier, cycle of conflict. We can attribute blame to others, again coming back to that point about the prism, the way in which we process information, the way we've learned information. This then can cause what we call attributing blame. And I've just decided to put this together. I thought it might be a bit of a change. I took the word blame and thought, okay, let's see what that could mean. And I came up with badly learned actions, motivates, excuses. And then I thought, well, what about if we positively reframe that and then say a better look, appreciating motive and emotions. And what I'm trying to say here, in effect, is that if we take away this automatic reasoning of somebody did that because of this, and actually maybe just give people the benefit of the doubt, or give the situation the benefit of the doubt, as well as ourselves, then we can appreciate that maybe the motive that somebody's coming from is actually not what we thought. It's not what we thought. And so rather than holding on to something that actually may be just a nuance or idiosyncratic behavior in someone, we can allow ourselves to say, actually, it's not personal. It wasn't intended to be that way, and just let it go. And not allow it to sort of ruminate and go around and around in our minds, reinforcing what we believe is already a view of ourselves. So a popular saying that that came to me when I was thinking about this is, when you point the finger, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. And then as I continued to think about this, I thought, well, actually, in addition, there's another finger that's pointing at us, which is basically pointing at the universe. You know, as we're sort of pointing at somebody in anger or in conflict, we've got 3 fingers coming back to us and one that's just pointing to the universe. And what I'm really sort of trying to highlight in that, sort of trying to be comical, is that there is no one to blame. So we end up in a situation which is really a set of circumstances that can be attributed to a lot of things, whether it be our past, whether it be our present, but there's a lot of situations that actually, if we just look at them for what they are a set of circumstances, and we can choose to change that through the way we think and interpret actions. So I put here experiencing perspectives that can come together to pattern our thinking and beliefs that contribute to our limited self-beliefs and cycle of conflict. So again, just reinforcing that the thoughts that we can have of ourselves, we hold on to them, and they become these limited beliefs that stop us from achieving goals, that stop us from moving forward. But even greater than that, it takes away our ability to live in the present. It takes away our ability to just be and feel and think and just stay at one with what's going on around us, because we're so busy thinking of later, the future, tomorrow, what's been going on. We're so stuck in our minds sometimes that we're unable to actually just enjoy and allow ourselves to be in the present. So I have here intentional observation and management of one's mind. So that was the words that came together in an earlier slide. And the point of that is to say that this is now what I would like us to build on, to focus our mind on the practice of being mindful. The practice of being mindful, being aware of what's going on in our minds, staying in the present, being focused, and allowing ourselves to accept and appreciate the things that are going on in our mind without being distracted, without being affected by it, and just finding that place of calm. Now, we've all probably seen this recently. I thought I'd use this graphic, social distancing. And I've used it just basically to illustrate that the same way we are socially distancing from others and we need to keep space between us, our minds need the same thing. Our minds need space. Our minds need time to unwind, time to digest, time to refocus, and time to just allow ourselves to be with those thoughts without the judgment, without the guilt, and just allow ourselves to be able to be at one with those thoughts. And I know part of the problem that a lot of people say to me is, how do I do that when I've got kids? How do I do that when I've got to make dinner? How do I do that when my life is just so busy? But the truth of the matter is, you can't give much more if you're empty. If you're empty, what is there left to give to the kids, to give to the things that are going on around you, to give to your job? Because what happens is, and this is where the cycle continues, we end up becoming exhausted. This then affects our sleep. This then contributes to our low mood. There was also a study, a Harvard study, about the brain-gut connection and how through our thoughts, through our rumination, which is, as we were saying earlier, the habit of just constantly thinking about thoughts that are maybe negative or dark, it causes an impact on the way our neurons and receptors are then being dealt with in our stomachs. That affects our brains. And we hear of the word nervous stomach a lot, or anxiety, and all of these things, and it becomes a knock-on effect. And this then can add to depression, it can add to the feeling of being in a low mood, and also it then contributes to our immune system or our immune receptors, because these then become all sort of become in disarray because of the way our thoughts are affecting our whole entire body. So it's really important that if we are finding ourselves in a place where we are just sort of going around and around and the thoughts are becoming very negative, it's important to let today be the first day to go, actually, I need to change this. And especially in this climate where we're at home and we're having more time to think, more time to look at all the things that are going on, it's really important that we allow ourselves that time. So in saying all of that, the list that I've got here is a very important list. And it's important because these are the things that we have to give ourselves in order to find that peace, to find that grounding, to find that, that place of not allowing ourselves to become in a cycle of conflict that affects in our relationships and how we see everything that's going on around us, the people that's around us, and just things in our lives. So permission. It is really important that we give ourselves permission to have space. And what I'm saying here is, it's important that we just take time out to do the things that we need to do for ourselves. And in this climate, I know space is of a premium, but even if it means, for example, going into the bathroom, having like a bath mat that you can just sit on in the bathroom and just taking that time, just quiet. Just taking that time for you, taking time to focus on your breathing, taking time to focus on your thoughts, taking time to maybe do a particular yoga position or a Pilates position, taking that time maybe to just gently use techniques where you become in touch with your body. It's really important that we're doing those things. I've got here, do not attribute guilt to your decisions. So another thing that we find that happens is you'll make a decision to take time out for yourself, say 5 minutes in your day. And then what will happen is you'll then feel guilty about it. You'll sit, you'll feel guilty, you'll start to have a go at yourself. And before you're aware, you're now thinking about all the things that are distracting you. You're thinking, what? I don't have time for this. I've got to make dinner. Why am I sitting here? And the point is, by doing that, there is actually no point you doing it. So in those moments, that's when you need to then be aware of those thoughts. It's fine that they come into your mind. It's absolutely fine. But you've got to be able to go, I deserve this time. I need this time. I need this time. I need this 5 minutes for myself, just to take that time, just to breathe. Just to breathe. And it's important that we allow ourselves, because even although we may be mothers, even although we may be business owners, even although we may be in pastoral positions, whatever it is, we can't give anything more to others if we have nothing for ourselves. And this again all comes back. It's just a cycle that we keep going round, which then affects, as I said, the way we view ourselves, that guilt, that punishment that we put on ourselves. We then use that and then we turn it around and blame others. And we just go around in a cycle. And it's really important that we break that habit whenever we have the opportunity to do so. So leading from that, allow true time for oneself. And that's exactly what I've just been speaking about. When you give yourself that 5 minutes, allow yourself to have it. I was saying to a client that they should get their children to create for them a do not disturb sign. And one of the great things about getting your children involved by doing something like that is you can then explain to them what it is that you need. And I even sort of made the joke that you can actually even say to them, you know, I need this time so that I can have a moment to myself to be thankful for you as my children. And because my day is so busy making dinner, tidying your rooms, now doing homeschooling, I don't get a chance to appreciate you. And that then allows you just to, you know, incorporate them in the decision making, incorporate them in the process, but also to allow them to understand there is nothing wrong in you taking time out. And also, there is nothing wrong in them as children taking time out. It is a good practice, mindfulness, also for young people, because especially in this time, there are so many things going around probably in their minds, can't see their friends, can't do the things they want to do, can't see grandma. So this is also a good time for them to be able to understand their own feelings and be able to maybe come back and discuss that with you. So it really, really is a good practice for just allowing yourself to just get to a place of grounding and focus. I've got next preparation, setting goals. So in order to be able to have that true time for yourself and to be able to give yourself permission, it might be a good idea to beforehand set some preparation time so that it can help towards becoming a habit and a routine. And what I mean by that is saying to yourself, okay, the bathroom's a bit of a mess right now. I don't really have the time, the energy, or the want to clean it. What can I do? So go to the cupboard, get a spare bath mat, roll it up, take it into the bathroom, sit on it when you are using it, then take it back out, put it under the bed until you need to use it the next day. So rather than adding another guilt to yourself of, well, in order for me to do that, I need to now clean the bathroom, I need to do that, and if I'm going to clean the bathroom, I must have cleaned the whole house. And then there we go again. We're getting into a cycle of being overwhelmed, not being able to just do the thing in the present, not able to stay in the present. So free yourself of that and just say, actually, yeah, the bathroom's a mess, but I don't want to deal with that right now, which, by the way, you're absolutely allowed to do. But find an alternative way to still do the thing that you need to do. A bath mat, a towel, or find a little corner at the side of the bed, whatever it may be, just where you can just have that time without guilt, without any kind of other influence distracting you. Be aware of the lies you tell yourself. Now, this is again really crucial. We're really good at telling ourselves we are something just because of maybe one experience or one situation that we've been through. The truth of the matter is we're not. So, for example, at some point in time, I've perhaps, I don't know, say failed an exam. Does that mean now that I'm no longer good at taking exams? Does that mean now I'm actually rubbish at taking exams? Or if I failed to get the job that I last went on an interview for, say, for example, does that mean now that I'm awful in interviews? No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. But we are very good at putting these labels on ourselves and saying, I'm not very good at that. I'm not good at seeing things through to the end. I start things but don't finish them. I'm only a mum. I'm not really good at business because, you know, I've spent my whole life being a mum. Or I'm not good at doing X because I've only been able to achieve this in my exams or this level of exams. It doesn't mean those things at all. It doesn't. And it's really important. I mean, I don't know if anybody's spiritual here, but, you know, there are so many quotes that we can potentially use from things like the Bible, where it basically tells us that, you know, death and life is in the power of the tongue. And there are other, you know, religions and other things that believe in the same things. Be mindful of the things that you speak over your life, over yourselves, over your situation, because no situation is permanent. So don't tell yourself it is. Don't allow yourself to believe I am only what I am today. Our thoughts are not facts. Our thoughts are not our reality, and we are not our thoughts. And we are not necessarily that one experience that we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So it's important that we're really aware of the things that we're saying. It's important that we're not declaring things over our lives that aren't true. Develop positive habits. I've put here start small, and I've said that because one of the problems that we do also find is that we can think big. We can say, for example, I'm gonna get healthy, I'm gonna get fit, and I'm gonna get a gym membership, I'm gonna do all these things, and then maybe perhaps we don't have the finances, or perhaps we don't have a gym that's near enough to us. That doesn't mean having a 10-minute walk or a 20-minute walk, and then we can't fit it in. So develop habits that are small, that are things that are realistic, i.e., if you want to get fit, just start simply by maybe going outside your front door, going to the corner and coming back. See how you feel by doing that 1 or 2 times, then do it again. Set yourself small goals. Stay in the moment and set yourself. Don't think about the future. Don't overthink about what you're going to look like in the future if you were able to lose 2 stone, or if you were able to, you know, lift some weights, or, you know, you'll really tone up those bingo wings, or whatever it may be that you're seeing yourself through, the eyes that you're seeing yourself through. Just allow yourself to be And I know I sound like I'm going on about that, but it's really important that we stay in the present and allow ourselves just to give us our time small steps, because by using the small steps, we don't then find ourselves being in a position of being overwhelmed. Okay, so be in the present so you can have time for the future. And I think I've really explained that thoroughly. Really be in the present so you can have time for the future. Staying in the present, by enjoying the present, by focusing on the present, it then allows you to do the same thing as time goes on in the future, building positive habits, affirming things in your life so that you can create new structures for yourself. And then you can see the future that you want.
Excellent. Wow. Carry on.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. So yes, so I've just signposted here. There's a few more things that I could have signposted, but I thought actually, if you go to these two websites, they are really comprehensive on the list of organizations that you can get in touch with if you are feeling overwhelmed. Remember I said that mindfulness is a great tool to do by yourself, but it works fantastically in conjunction with other things, whether it be massage, yoga, or talking therapies. We are not an island. It's really important that if we're suffering or struggling, that we do reach out to others. So, Andrew, do I have a few minutes just to do some relaxation techniques, or I can come back to that in
carry on. Well, can we open up to some questions first? And then
yes, and then we can come back. Absolutely fine.
Gives you a little time just to kind of get a glass of water as well.
Thank you.
Do you want to unshare the screen, or have you still got more? Have you got more?
No. Let's do that. Stop share. Thank you for that reminder. There we go.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hi everyone. So let me unmute all. So I've got a question for you first of all as well.
Okay.
If you have questions, please put them in the chat, or you're more than welcome to talk when I unmute everyone as well. But thank you again for that, Georgina. You mentioned young people. What kind of, especially during this time as well, what kind of tips as well would you kind of, especially mindfulness as well? You know, people say mindfulness as a young person, would they really understand that as well? So what kind of tips would you for people maybe with anxiety and et cetera?
So again, allowing yourself just to sit, observe your breathing, and then just position yourself. And then in that moment, and these are techniques you can do with young people, absolutely brilliant for young people. And then through that, you can just gently ask them questions. What comes to your mind as you're doing that? What thoughts are created in your mind as you're doing that? How are you feeling as you're doing that? And generally you'll find that things will start to be revealed. The one thing, especially when you're dealing with young people, is you don't push. You allow them to offer information to you. And then through that, then you can then build on those things, doing things like arts and crafts with them, helps them to kind of find that relaxation point where they can then also just talk and tell you what's going on with them. I think teenagers are slightly different because with them, sometimes there may be a need to prompt, but it's also important that you're being observant to yourself and observant to them. What are they doing that seems differently? Are they sleeping too much? Are they shying away from what's going on? And also I would say protect them from some of the things that are going on TV, social media, because I think a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed. And even just, daily briefings, I've noticed a lot of young people are just sort of taking this information and it's making them feel as though outside is bad. And we need to allow them to understand that actually, no, this time is for us to be able to spend together. It's for us to learn, how to do more interactive things as a family and just put a positive spin on things. So I use the word positive reframing, trying to always find a better way of giving information that doesn't sound negative, but rather can have a positive connotation to it.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Everyone, if you have questions, please put them in the chat or put your hand up if you want to talk, but not your hand in the emotions. Yeah, you can put your little sign up. Yeah, I've got a question for you here from Julie. I find I put time aside and my mind gets distracted with other thoughts. How do I stay in the moment?
And that's, Julie, that's absolutely okay, because you will get distracted. But again, the point of mindfulness is being aware. So for example, if you're doing one of these techniques and then you find yourself going off thinking about the dinner, be aware of that and say, I'm going to come back now. So that's the point. It's about managing those thoughts, and rather than allowing them just to go away with you, just bringing it back and going. And this is why it's important to focus on the breathing. This is why it's important to have, whether it be affirmations or quotes that you can say to yourself. This is why it's also good to have maybe the Pilates techniques, because in these moments, you can allow yourself, through the things that you're doing with your body, to really channel and ground. But by the way, it's okay to be distracted. Just be aware of that, and then try and bring yourself back to where you can continue to be thinking about the positive thoughts that you're feeling.
Excellent, thank you. Another question is, do you do these workshops in Lewisham and in Southwark and all those kind of stuff? How does it work for you? How do people get in contact with you, or would that be on your slide later on? Or?
So actually, and it's so funny, thank you, Andrew, I actually didn't remember to put my details on one of the slides. So, but I can give my email address and then we can take it from there. But in essence, it will be through the Wellness Centre once we are back up and running. But also through things like Zoom, you can email me and then I can send you out what it is I'm doing, or any information that you need, exercises, and we can sort of work together and collaborate doing stuff like that. So if anybody wants to do that, please just email me and we can put things together.
Okay, here's another question just popped in. What if some of these negative thoughts allows you to come to a solution or even getting some closure? Let me read that again. What if some of these negative thoughts allows you to come to a solution or even getting some closure?
Okay. I would then say that, are they actually negative thoughts, or are they a negative thing that you're trying, you yourself have allowed that time to think of something that may be considered a negative thought, but you're also implementing strategies, you may not be aware that you're doing that, in order to get that closure. So you're not ruminating on the thing, you're actually allowing yourself to come to a place of, right, this is what I'm experiencing or have experienced. What can I do now to move forward? So probably without you even realizing it, you are actually being mindful. You're allowing yourself not to stay in a negative trance, a negative place, but using that past, using that experience to elevate you moving forward. So I'd actually say that you're doing the mindfulness in that scenario.
Thank you, thank you. Somebody said that they would definitely do the Zoom class with you.
Excellent.
Okay, so last question before I hand it back to you to do your thing. I will back up what has been said. It's more of a statement. I will back up what's been said. It will take time, even for a few seconds. It's worth practicing.
It does take time. It really does.
Thank you, Angelique. Excellent. Okay, so if there's no more questions, nothing's come through right now. So before I hand back to Georgina, I'm not sure if you're doing the slides, Georgia, but if you are.
I'm not going to do the slides. I'm now going to just sort of, hopefully you'll be able to hear them.
Sorry, I mean, do you hand out the slides? Do you hand out the slides?
If you would like them, yeah, I can send them out afterwards.
Okay, so if anybody would like them, then please put your email just in the chat so that we can send you the slides along with our evaluation as well. You have to do the evaluation first to get the slides. So that's what I've noticed. I'm going to start doing. Okay, so if you want the slides, put your email just in the evaluation. So I'll go back to you, Georgie.
Okay. Can you all hear the music that I'm playing? Can you hear it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So while we're sitting here, I'm hoping that you're all able to sort of sit with your feet planted nicely and firmly on the floor. Yeah? And I want you, with your palms facing up, just gently rest them just around your knees. Just gently let them fall. Just relax your arms, your shoulders, and just allow yourself to just drop the shoulders. So really make a conscious thought. Allow yourself to feel the shoulders just gently falling, just gently coming down into the chair. And just allow yourself just to feel that feeling. Allow your feet, find the best positioning for your feet so you can feel them either carpet underneath you, your laminate floor, whatever it may be, and you can feel that the base of your feet are nicely planted on the floor. And as you do that, I want you just to breathe in really nicely, really controlled for 4, and then breathe out for 4. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and out. And while you're doing that, continue to do that. I want you to feel the underside of your legs on the chair. So you should be able to feel your thighs just gently on the chair. And I want you, as you continue to breathe in for 4 and out for 4, just feel what almost feels like the blood coming into your calves. Just gently allow yourself to feel that feeling. Now be aware, if you can, of your feet. Maintaining that breathing, your focus needs to be continuously on your breathing in for 4 and out for 4. In for 4 and out for 4. Don't feel a rush, there's no pressure, there's no time constraints, this is just you, just being aware of your breathing. And as you're doing that, you can feel your feet on the floor. I want you to think of either an affirmation or something that just makes you feel positive. So, if you don't mind me using a spiritual quote, I'm going to use, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm going to repeat that. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. If you prefer another affirmation, I have, I am a great wife. I am a great husband. I am a good person. I am not my thoughts. I am who I want to be. I am not my thoughts. I am who I want to be. Now, you can use any of these, or if you've got something else that's in your mind, just allow yourself to gently think about those things. And as you're thinking, whichever it is that you're using, believe it. Say it to yourself and say it over. But being mindful of your breathing. Don't let go of that pattern of breathing, that slow, controlled pattern of breathing. And tell yourself, I am a good person. I am not my thoughts. I am whoever I want to be. And I want you to do that for the next minute, if you can. Just be aware. Just be aware of your body, relaxed, your shoulders. Make sure your shoulders are just nicely loose, nicely loose. The stress has now gone into the floor, into the carpet, into the rug, and it's now just fizzling out underneath you. It's no longer your concern. It's gone. You've allowed it to all just come down through your shoulders, your lower back, into your thighs, down into your feet, and expelled into the floor. It's no longer yours because you are not your thoughts. You are whosoever you want to be. You are not just a mum. You are not just a dad. You are smart. You are creative. You are powerful. You are loved. Embrace all of these words. I am love. I deserve time. I am not my past, and I am not my thoughts. as we just do this breathing for the last time, breathing in for 4 and out for 4, I'll hand back over to Andrew. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Georgie. Is everybody still awake, or everybody's kind of fallen asleep? Is everybody still... Hi, Puna. How are you?
I fell asleep.
Fell asleep. Good, good, good. All right, guys, we've got 5 more minutes, so let's just open it. Well, I'm just going to open it up again to everybody as well. Just going to put everybody on. Okay, I think I can see 2 hands up. Rosa, I can see your hand up, and Natalie, I can see your hands up, and I've got Andrew as well. So,
oh no, Andrew, I was just saying thumbs up, nothing.
Oh, thumbs up. Okay, beg your pardon. Sorry.
I was saying the same thing, saying thumbs up. It was nice and relaxing.
Oh, brilliant. Georgie, you've got some really good feedback in the chat room.
Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you.
So many people said that was brilliant. Loved it. Andrew, did you have a question, or did you had your hand up, or you're on mute?
I wanted to say something, because everything I heard actually resonates well with me. The one that stands out actually is where you are not your thoughts, because so many of us who are in this situation where we are anxious or we are depressed, we have thoughts coming to our heads, and we believe this is really us, when actually it isn't. And if we can get into that mode in understanding it's not us and separate ourselves from all those negative thoughts, I think we can move forward. So I really appreciate that. What I wanted to do though is to get some more information from you as to how I can get others to get onto your program, because I think this is amazing. I think it is very uplifting and helpful. And I'm not going to be ashamed to say, when you say in Christ, it lifted me even more. So I feel very, very good about this. The other thing I wanted to say is that when you are actually in a situation where you're just, these thoughts are coming to you, they're different. The very things you said are workable. What I have done with my, because I'm a teacher, what I have done with students is I have writing clubs, for example, and they do their writing, and it takes them away from, of course, what they're thinking. They're in a different world.
That's right.
I'm trying to encourage as many people as possible to be a part of this, to be an author, to write. Because
that's one of the things I encourage in young people, to write. Just write.
Yeah. Writing is very, very useful. I found it helpful to myself. I've written this book, The Girl Who Shone Like a Star, and that book has actually been helpful, not particularly to me, but for the students, the children that I've taught, who are very, very who are suffering from low self-worth, low self-esteem. So in the book, I try to show them that, for example, your appearance is basically something you should be proud of. And also in the book, I look on, of course, how they can actually develop their raise their self-esteem and their self-worth.
Yes.
And I actually believe
how can people get that book? Can you put the details in the chat, please, to show how?
Sure, I will. But I'm also going to put a detail of where we're going to have a event tomorrow for those who want to be involved in writing, getting a book done, because there's a workshop tomorrow.
Put it all in the chat. Put it all in the chat.
I will do now. Thank you.
Okay. Georgie, just once again, some more feedback from yourself as well. Thank you for sharing your mindfulness approach. You have a gentle, kind, and honest approach. Please get a copy of the slides as well.
Thank you.
So everyone, we only have 2 more minutes left. So if there's any burning questions, please put your hands up in the chat or put it into the chat. If not, I'm just going to ask Georgie just to. Wow, I've done this in the last 2 months. I've done this is maybe about my 30th Zoom call and hosting as well. But you've definitely have won the trophy for the amount of positive feedback from everyone.
Oh, bless you. So, you know, it's because it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah.
Excellent. So what I'm going to do, George, is going to ask you just to, once again, maybe give everyone your last 3 tips of and especially coping during this time as well. Sorry, but your last 3 tips on what you can give everybody, and then I normally unmute everyone and then ask everyone then just to say thank you back to you. So over to you. Your last 3 tips of what you would tell everyone. Yeah.
Okay. So in regards to your own well-being, I will say give yourself permission to be kind. Give yourself permission to be kind to yourself. Allow the 5 minutes, as I said, to just be at one, because you cannot give anything from an empty vessel. Okay, so allow that time for you. 5 minutes, you can give yourself that time, and be focused on your breathing. If you can't do anything else, focus on your breathing and give yourself an affirmation. Give yourself daily an affirmation. So when you get out of bed, whatever it is you do, the first thing, give yourself an affirmation. Start in the right mind, because it's actually the way we start in the morning is generally how our day will continue and go downhill from there. So give yourself permission to be kind. Give yourself that time to just have 5 minutes and tell yourself something positive, whether it's a line from the Bible, a wonderful verse from the Bible that can encourage you, or tell yourself something positive about yourself, because I guarantee you, you are not your thoughts. You are the thing inside you that is positive, and you all have it in you. Okay? Is that, I think that's it.
Was that 3? Is that all one altogether, yeah?
Yes.
Excellent, no worries. Okay, listen, Georgia, thank you again.
Thank you.
Everyone, I'm just going to unmute everyone and just ask if you guys can just give a big round of applause and your thank you and your appreciation to Georgia, yeah?
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a blessed night.
Thank you.
It was really good.
God bless
It was
you.
really good.
Thank you.
God bless.
Lovely way to end the evening.
Once again, everyone, we have our sessions tomorrow. You can use the same link. It's at 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 7 o'clock tomorrow. Use the same link and the same password. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for coming to our
Thanks, Andrew.
Croydon BME Forum's Mental Health Workshop. And hopefully we see you tomorrow and the rest of the week. Georgie, thank you so much.
Thank you, my darling.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks so much.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.